Hey, we're live here at Crossgates Mall. Andrea, you want to flip that around? Director Andrea Seeger, AndreaSeeger.com, doing an awesome job again. Hey guys, we got Fathead Wayne Gretzky here. I didn't even know this was on the side of Chaz's store, but it's really cool because over 20 years ago, I was up in Toronto at the Breeders' Cup for horse racing in November, and it was really, really cool because we got to go to Wayne Gretzky's restaurant in Toronto. Didn't get a chance to meet the man, of course, but we watched the World Series there when the Atlanta Braves were playing the New York Yankees. New York Yankees beat the Braves that night. It's pretty cool. Watched that Wayne Gretzky's restaurant. Got a great hat from Wayne Gretzky and a pin, and I'll always remember that. He's got some great stuff here, Fathead stuff as well. We're here in Crossgates Mall, and I love Crossgates Mall for a million reasons. I love malls in general. Grew up in the malls, Colony Center, Northway Mall, Crossgates Mall, Mohawk Mall. But Crossgates especially close to my heart because I owned and operated two different businesses in Crossgates Mall right here. One was a Mr. Smoothie franchise with a couple partners, owned that business for almost 10 years. And then on my own, I started, owned, and operated 25 Silver. I was in this mall for over 15 years with that business, which put me in the mall literally almost every single day for 15 years, and I love it. Nothing I like more in Crossgates Mall is to shop for sports apparel, sports memorabilia, all things sports. I'm a huge sports fan. So we're going to interview Chaz Betts today. Chaz Betts is the owner of Pro Image Sports right here in Crossgates Mall. Let's take a look at some of the stuff that Chaz has got here for sale. Of course, Pro Image Sports, they got everything sports for sale as well. It's got baseball jerseys, baseball shirts, framed pictures, signed pictures, soccer jerseys, football helmets, baseball hats, every single thing. Hockey memorabilia, pennants. You got the TVs on with the replay last night of the Mets in Pittsburgh. Don't want to be a spoiler on that if you haven't seen the game, so tune in. Oh, Yankees? Wait a minute. No, that's Mets. No, it's Yankees. Oh my God, it's Yankees. See, that's why, there we go. That's why Chaz has outfitted. Chaz, turn around 1 second. Chaz has got the New York Yankees hat on, and I guess that's why he's outfitted me with a Red Sox hat. Give me a Red Sox hat. Because I'm never going to admit the Yankees are on any TV. That's why I said they're the Mets. So what we're going to do is, Chaz, it's so great to have you here today. Nice to see you again, my friend. Chaz and I have been friends here in the mall. We met because we both had businesses here, and we know the grind of the long hours, the holiday hours, well over 100 hours a week, every single week between Thanksgiving and New Year's, and it was a blast getting to know someone who's passionate about business. And I was really happy on the second edition of the Saving Swami Savvy Saturday interview to bring Chaz Betts to the table. What we're going to do is we're going to go back. We're going to have a coffee, we're going to sit down and relax, and we're going to talk about real business. So come on back, Andrea, let's go sit at the table. I don't want to bend the hat. You know what they say, if I bend the hat, if you bend it, you buy it. So. All right, so what we've got is we've got a special Saving Swami gift from Chaz that we're going to roll out in a little bit. We'll tell you guys about that. We've got some email questions, and Chaz, you want to pop the air conditioner off real quick? Yeah. So it's really great. If you take a look around here, we're all the way in the back of the store. This isn't even the holiday time for Chaz. The holiday time, you boost inventory. We're going to talk about inventory control and inventory levels. And the reason why Chaz is so good at the business that he's in is controlling inventory. You can imagine with all the sports teams, all the sports, all the franchises, all of the licensing and the apparel, memorabilia, everything that's involved here, and all of the different items you can carry from stickers to mugs to glasses to keychains to lighters, you name it, inventory control is tremendously important to run a successful franchise business like Pro Image Sports. So we're going to dig into the inventory control that Chaz has here and how he learned that. I think we'll even start with that type of thing with inventory control. So we'll sit down and I'll go into that because I know when we first talked years and years and years and years ago, we spoke about your background with Burger King and the Burger King franchises. So to come full circle now, almost 40 years later,
well, let me see. Started out in Burger King 1978.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Started out as
39 years.
Yeah. Started out as a trainee. Worked my way up to a manager. Became a district manager, and eventually became an owner. Right. So I, oversaw about 3 or 4 stores. Used to own one on 1041 Central Avenue. I believe it's a car lot now, so.
That's it. Well, that happens.
Yeah,
right?
it does.
Businesses change.
Business evolves. Business move forward.
And you've come full circle now, that's what I was saying, because now you're back in the franchise business. But one of my little nitpicky things about business is I find that owning a business is one of the greatest privileges you could ever have in this country. It's not a right, it's a privilege, because there are so many people who own and operate and run businesses that don't run them the right way. They don't treat their clients or their customers with respect. They don't cherish the customer or client, and without the customer or client, there is no business. So the way I look at it with restaurants, and you've been in the restaurant business as well, a lot of restaurants fail because the waiter or waitress or bartender or whoever was working there with no experience on systems or process now want to buy the restaurant and run it.
Absolutely.
And then when they buy the restaurant, they find out, well, I don't know about ordering, I don't know about inventory control, I don't know about payroll, I don't know about hiring or training or systems or any of that. Talk about what you learned originally in the franchise model about processes and systems and how critical you've shared with me it is for success.
Well, being critical with sales, what's important with that is that to project sales is very important. And when you project the sales and the more accurate you're projecting sales, the easier it is to do your ordering. Hiring is a totally different thing. I mean, it's just a lot of it's on feel, a lot of it's on experience, but not everybody that's experienced is your best employee. It's more a lot of times when I had guys working for me as managers, the best managers I had were the ones I started from scratch. It's kind of like making a cake. You know, you start out with the ingredients, you mix it, you turn it, you know, you kind of, you know, maybe put a little extra yeast in it, you know, and the manager really grows at that point, and some make it and some don't, and some move on, some become owners, some are franchise owners now of other companies, some are own businesses, some run businesses, you know, so, you know, I'm lucky to say that most of the guys that I actually trained personally became store managers. So obviously there's a talent there for running a business, but my success is based on my sweat and blood, you know, my hard work, trying to be the best at what I do, and that's how I moved forward.
Now, that process that you learned in that franchise model leads you down a path where you understand that the customer experience has to be consistent every time they come in.
Correct.
So the franchise model is very popular, and the franchise model has been very successful since it was rolled out 60 years ago, whenever it started. But talk about the consistency of the experience and how the process behind that guarantees that consistency.
Well, the consistency behind it is based on the fact that you're regimented to the point you have rules and regulations to follow. Most people like to follow rules that do well in a business, and as far as being a franchisee of Pro Image, I basically modeled running the business from my Burger King experiences. So the inventories, the people, the hard work, except the thing is we're not putting a mustard on a Yankee jersey, you know, we're not putting mustard and pickle, we're just...
That's right.
It's a lot easier to sell a Yankee jersey than it is a Whopper. You know, so the restaurant business is probably, I would say, a lot harder than running a Pro Image franchise.
What do you find now with the Pro Image franchise? We're going to get into franchise advantages, royalty. You know, let's talk about that right now. When you're in a franchise, you're under the microscope, always. Again, for that consistency, because representing the franchise, they want to make sure that their customer or client always has the same experience. And for their support and their national advertising budget and that type of thing and the things they bring to the table. Talk about paying royalties and the things that you have to overcome personally with your staff and managing inventory and so forth to be able to handle paying royalties and still having profitability and margins and that kind of thing.
Right. The profitability is the end point of the business, but the beginning point is top line sales. You have to bring in the right products for the right atmosphere. Crossgate Mall, you know, it has a good mixture of types of people: urban, middle class, white, black, you know, so, you know, you try to find a balance there by talking to the customers and knowing what they want. And the next point is trying to bring, hopefully you'll do sales in order to successfully increase your sales. And then the process after that is paying all your royalties, which in Pro Image's case it's 4%. But the back end of the business, as far as Pro Image Corp is concerned, they have a great support staff. I probably get 20 or 30 emails a day on information on products to buy. Sometimes they come up with company buy deals where they get, the power of how many stores. They have 100 and something stores, and the power of the buying power they have is like phenomenal. So my buying power being in one store wouldn't be that strong. So say for instance a coffee cup, a ceramic coffee cup. Normally I would buy that for $7.75, and sell it for wholesale or retail for $15.95. The power of Pro Image and their buy-ins, I would probably get that for $5.50, which would increase my profit $2 and change, and then
So that's big when you're talking that type of percentage when you're doing volume per unit.
Right. So the franchise fee that everybody's afraid of is they're afraid that you won't offset the cost, but their job also is to try and get our margins up. Their philosophy is margin, margin, margin. You're paying taxes on margin, but you're not paying royalties on margin. Okay, so say you do $100,000 in sales, you're paying them $4,000, but your profits, you increase your profits 20%.
12 to 20, right? Exactly.
Yeah, 20%.
Yeah, exactly.
So the thing is that you want marginal items that you can make big profits on.
I was going to take a little time to get to the licensing piece, but we're leading right into it, and then I'm going to backtrack after that because I want to talk about how you went from Burger King into the sports business, the sports apparel, retail business, running a few stores, and then going into ownership of a private store into the franchise. But when we're on licensing and the leverage that partnering with Pro Image has created for you, I know that we had a couple different conversations, but I think the first one was 3 or 4 years ago when you were tossing around the idea of partnering with Pro Image or someone, because licensing you could foresee into the future was going to become an issue on some products. Like it was costing you money not to be able to carry certain products, but you didn't have the ability to get them. Talk about the limitations a small business or a private store owner has versus like your partnership with Pro Image and what you have access to now from an inventory perspective.
Right. Well, the thing is that when you can buy items at lower cost, you can actually keep better inventory stock. Okay, so we'll say, normally under most cases I would have 2 keychains on a shelf. Since I've been with Pro Image and get lower cost, I can put 6 keychains on the shelf. So you're keeping your store inventorially stocked, and that's what they'd like you to do. They want the stores to look full 12 months a year. Normally Christmas time.
I just mentioned that too as we were going around. I said when you were back turning the air conditioner off, I said, that's so funny. I said, take a look, Andrea. This, usually you boost inventory for the holiday time. Take a look. It's not even the holidays, and every single rack, every single front, everything is full.
Yes.
Yeah, the pegboard's full. The hats are full, the everything, the uniforms, the helmets, everything.
Right. Under the old system, when I had the old store before Pro Image, I didn't keep things stocked as well. So now I do keep things stocked. So the opportunity, you can't create the opportunity to buy unless you have inventory. Okay, it's important that the store looks full. And not only Pro Image wants that, Crossgates Mall wants your store to look full. They don't want to see empty stores. They don't want to see, they want to keep their stores full. And they don't want empty spots, and sometimes that don't work out.
But what about the ability to buy certain licensed product that you couldn't buy before? I know that was a determining factor.
Right. What happens from time to time, companies like Nike, Reebok, VF Imagewear, Majestic, which makes baseball, and some of the novelty item companies, they change hands. They buy, sell, buy each other out, sell. And what happens is that with big as the NFL is and MLB, they're always looking to increase their profits. So what they do is they give either Nike, Majestic, VF Imagewear, some of these companies, Under Armour, some of these companies that 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 can create profitability, to increase profitability, so in turn they can pay the players more money and the whole bit, because a lot of the players' salaries come from items such as this. So like Nike, for instance, Nike bought the NFL contract, and one of the first things they do, they cut back the number of stores that actually sold their products. So and I happened to be one of those when I was with the old store I had. Okay, and I couldn't get a contract. They wouldn't let me have one. So Pro Image said they could possibly get me one. They didn't promise me one. They said I can possibly get one. I still have to put an application in. I have to be reviewed by Nike, this and that. So I eventually got approved. So currently, right now, since from the old store to the new store I have, Nike's currently 25% of my business. So obviously that's one of the better decisions I made.
Yeah.
Okay. Some of the, and then.
But you knew if you got Nike, it would be a big boost for your business.
No doubt in my mind. Obviously, getting the NFL jerseys and getting the on-field apparel that the players wear, because when the fans watch television and they watch the games, they see oh, I want that jersey, I want that hoodie that player's got on. I want that T-shirt. I want that sideline hat.
Yep.
So they come here and we have it.
Yeah.
And then and then my part is to make sure I get the right teams. And currently I stock all 32 teams here, anyways, with all even clothing, novelties, hats, jerseys. So you can go through the store and then you can see that I provide that. And then one of the other cases is the online.
That's another question that I was going to pose. It's
right.
So funny. How has your business changed with the increase, obviously exponential increase over the last 10 years in shopping online as opposed to a brick and mortar location like this?
Right, but there's still, most of the people, I believe, still want to go out and touchy-feely products. Okay, they don't want to, you buy something online or you buy a jersey online, it's the wrong size, you got to take time to send it back, this and that. They come into my store, and I can provide the same service that they get online, NFL.com. So you come in, you want to buy a Beckham Jr. jersey for the Giants. I don't have it in stock. I can order it for you just like that with the snap of a finger and get it in the same time frame that you can order.
Same price as everything.
Same price.
It's all regulated, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And you don't have to pay shipping. In some cases, they get free shipping online. That's how they get you on the hook. But in most cases, I would get free shipping. I've been doing free shipping. We do personalized jerseys. I can't do that with NFL because I don't have the license for that. But we do personalized jerseys for baseball, and we've been pretty lucky right now. One of my best-selling jerseys right now is Derek Jeter. He's not even playing baseball. As far as hockey, the same thing goes for hockey. NBA, the license is going to change for there. This fall,
there's a new company, right?
There's a new company. The new company is Fanatics. Now, Fanatics is a big online service for the NFL. Actually, they engineer their online stores. So it's Fanatics.com. But also, Fanatics is in the game of buying the licensees up. They bought the NFL contract. Nike makes some of the stuff for sideline. Now they don't make it all. And Fanatics now is going to start making more of the... they just took over the NHL fanwear license. So, and then in 2020, Fanatics is going to engineer the baseball contract with Under Armour making the jerseys.
Well, you'd never know. The regular consumer,
right.
The regular customer comes in, they'd never know there's 9 or 10 companies with their hands in the pot making different things.
Right.
All fighting for licenses. I mean, you hear the big thing is when someone gets a new license to broadcast some type of professional sports or league.
Yeah.
But they never publicize who gets the contracts. I mean, you hear who's being sponsored.
Right.
Under Armour is sponsoring this athlete. But
Right.
you never hear about Under Armour getting or fighting over a certain license with Fanatics or with Reebok or with Nike, that type of thing, or with Adidas, whatever the company is.
Right.
But they're all out there. They're all, fighting tooth and nail.
Right. People don't really know this, but Derek Jeter, he has a contract with Jordan brand. So Jordan makes a lot of his, will be making a lot of his stuff maybe in the future. he's following, I believe Derek Jeter is following the same model as Michael Jordan did with licensing. I don't think it's going to be sneakers as big as Michael Jordan provides, but I think with Nike, but I think it's going to be better for Jeter in the long term to partner up with a successful company such as Jordan Brand.
Yeah, absolutely. Much easier to take that easy path of marketing and exposure and points of distribution than doing it on your own.
Yes.
So this is great. Wealth of knowledge. Obviously, it's incredible the amount of knowledge you have in this business. So I want to go back now. When you went from Burger King, right? You started as trainee, then supervisor, then manager, then district manager, then owner operator, multiple stores, under your thumb that you were running. Then you transitioned somehow into the retail sports apparel for sale business, so to speak, in a mall environment. How did that happen?
Well, what happened was, I was in Colony Center. I was owning and operating a Burger King at Colony Center, and the life of that comes to an end at some point. And I met a guy named Dave, and I used to go down and talk with him, this and that. How'd you get into this? How'd you do this? This and that. And he had an event one time where he brought Pete Rose in. I helped him out with the event, just kind of did it on the side.
I'm talking about Dave Harmon.
And
yeah, we'll probably end up interviewing Dave at some point, who's a restaurateur up in the Saratoga area and a professional photographer. It's really great. And that was a cool partnership, so to speak, with you and Dave, because you got into restaurants with him and some other stuff.
It was a good vibe. So what happened was I eventually, we kind of went our separate ways. I didn't talk to him that much, maybe once in a great while. And then I decided to leave Burger King, the franchise arena, and I didn't think it was a dead end, but I just thought that it was time for me to go, being with the time I was there. And I said, well, what am I going to do? So I'm sitting home thinking about, maybe I'll call Dave, help him out for a little while. Well, the help went to other things, and eventually it ended up here with this. So, but along the way, Dave prospered from that. We had 3 stores going at one time and 2 restaurants, so it can't be too bad, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
when you were in the mall and you were running the stores,
Yeah.
you then decided with the Stadium store here in Crossgates Mall that you wanted to buy the store.
Right, correct.
And then you owned, operated, ran kind of back to the Burger King days as well. But at that point, this was not a franchise. Talk about the differences of running the store then privately, the way you wanted to run it, to some of the under the microscope stuff that you're accountable for now with the franchise. What was different? A little more freestyling?
No, I basically ran it the same way I ran the Burger Kings. I ran Dave's store the same way. And the Pro Image is run basically all 3 venues were run the same way. The difference is that when Dave and I were doing it, we were temporary tenants, and we constantly moved around. I remember moving 4 times in 13 months. I think that's my famous story. And then by the time the 5th or 6th time came around, I could flip a store in 24 hours. I mean, I was getting that good at it, flipping stores. Maybe I was thinking about going into that business, flipping stores for people like people flip houses, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but then over time, you want to do things for yourself, make a little bit more money. If the money wasn't as important, the money's the end result of owning a business. I decided to ask Dave if we wanted to sell it, and he agreed. I paid him for it. It wasn't like I got it for free. And then we got into, I think one of the issues was we couldn't inventory the stores correctly because the sales were dropping and this and that. So I think that it was time for a change. And Pro Image, I didn't stumble on it. It was more like I kind of knew it was out there. I just moved forward with it. You know what I mean? One
of the things with Pro Image that I don't know if it was a requirement from the mall, I assume it was a requirement for Pro Image, is once you agree to be a franchisee, you've got to have a permanent location where you are. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's different because you talked about we were moving around multiple times, 4 times in 13 months. I went through the same thing with the jewelry stores, different than the Smoothie franchise. With the Smoothie franchise, we were also required to be a permanent tenant. With my jewelry store, I had the flexibility to be temporary and move around. And I could talk about it till we're blue in the face, but I want to hear specifics from you, the difference, the fundamental differences of being a temporary tenant with the mall and then signing a permanent deal. Different responsibilities, really a whole different deal within Crossgates Mall when that happens with all mall management companies, but especially here with Pyramid. What are the differences between, because a lot of people won't know this, they always say, I want to own a store in the mall. If I just had a great product, I want to own a store in the mall and everyone in the mall is making money and this type of thing. Talk about temporary and permanent, what the difference is.
Right. The difference with temporary is that the mall, say I'm temporary right now, the mall can come to you tomorrow and say you got to move within 24 hours, 24 to 48. Normally they give you a little more time than that, but I mean, we had to move the store one time in 3 days because they needed to put somebody in here, maybe that was paying more rent, or they were a permanent tenant coming in, and that's happened. We've probably been in this spot like 3 times already, so in and out, in and out, in and out. So being a permanent tenant, the difference is that your rent's more consistent. You're accountable for paying taxes and
utilities,
you know, and cam charges, whatever they call that. I don't know. To me, it's just a number. And then
that's
when
the
they
common
come
area
to you,
marketing or
when they have
maintenance.
When they want to move you, they probably have to send you a legal letter saying that, you know, you're bounded. You know, my lease is bounded by, you know, legalities. You know, I could, some things I can approve, some things I don't approve. I'm a small fish in a big pond, but I still have a little bit of say in what I do. I have to, you know, they might want to move me, but they have to pay to move the whole store. They have to rebuild my store, move it, because I paid to build it.
Those are advantages, obviously advantages to you,
yes,
being permanent, but the advantage to the customer.
The customer is that you don't move around the mall. I felt that was always one of the issues with, not just with Pyramid, but I know it happens in other mall systems too, that they move you around a lot and they think that helps the mall. I really believe it doesn't help the shopper. I mean, I have a lot of shoppers at this point in time after 20 years that are older, and I thought you were gone. I said, no, we're in the same spot. You know, they forget. You know, maybe they visit you 4 times a year. You know what I mean? But, you know.
There's a funny phenomenon in Crossgates is that a lot of people that shop on the other end by JCPenney don't shop on this side by Macy's, and people who shop on this side by Macy's don't shop on the other side by JCPenney. They might come to the mall 10 or 15 times and never make it east of the food court.
Correct. Yeah.
So if you move to that past that middle ground where Pizzeria Uno and the food court is, you could lose a customer for a couple of years. Yeah. And then they said, oh my God, I used to come here all the time. When did you come back? Yeah. Well, we never left. Oh, I don't come at this end of the mall.
Right.
We heard that so many times too. So the mall thinks they're doing it a service because it seems like there's a mixture of stores, but all they're doing is pushing the same tenants around, and the tenant then has to reestablish the relationship with the customer.
Right, correct. So, you know, they're just trying to, I believe the mall's trying in the mall's best interest and in my best interest to bring permanent businesses in here that would bring permanent customers. It doesn't work like that anymore. I think the online business has actually changed, you know, the big picture of things, you know. So the mall decided they wanted to bring in services such as, we'll say they're bringing in a spa, a day spa with a swimming pool, I believe. They have more restaurants than they ever had. I told them 20 years ago that they needed a restaurant down the other end of the mall. They never had one, and now they got 4, or they got 4 in the works. They brought in a bowling alley type business, and then they have entertainment in there. They got you know, and they also have a comedy dinner theater, which kind of makes the mall more welcome to come to visit and do things. I have people coming in here that haven't been here in 5 years, and they say, my God, this place changed a lot. And I says, nah, it's still the same.
Behind the scenes,
they just painted the walls, and that's it, you know.
Well, as you saw the steakhouse that just opened,
Yeah.
then immediately closed.
Right.
So as much as the other businesses are thriving with the right concept,
Yeah.
trying to bring people in socially to interact as a
Right.
destination, which will fight the online sales. Online sales is, you know, people searching for a specific thing at a specific price with free shipping or Amazon Prime or whatever, and they get it. Here, when it becomes a destination, you've got social interaction,
Yeah.
you know, families or adults, whatever it happens to be. But behind the scenes, things don't change. If you sign a bad deal
Yep.
and you have the wrong concept and your rent is too high,
Right.
it is impossible, no matter how deep your pockets are, to survive.
Correct.
And I think we just saw that. Was that Rascals, right?
Rascals. I felt that the money they put in Rascals and what they did, I thought everything's a great idea, but to make it work, you know, I don't care if who's the chef's Kitchen Nightmares there? What's his name? If he was running the place, that place would be closed. Guaranteed. It would. And the bowling alley, that concept's great. They got the movie theater here. They also have the children's I forgot what they call it, but it's a children's
Oh, up
playground.
above, where
Yeah,
I
where
was
the
going
old
to say where Caldor used to be.
where the old movie
Like
theater. No, it was the
30
old.
years ago.
No, it was the old movie theater.
Oh, above that, right?
The young families. So I think that's what's happening over the years is that I felt when the economy went kaput and the market went down and the housing market it crashed, right? I felt it was going to take probably a generation and a half for everything to come back. And I think I'm pretty much on sketch for that. It seems to be turning around little by little. But, you know, all we need in this mall is traffic. We need to find a way to get traffic in here. The individual stores can do their parts, but, I feel that, Crossgates needs to do their part also, just to get traffic here. You know, they had the Journey Through the Body a few weeks ago, and there was tons of people in here. And you know what?
That's a big
I
draw.
didn't have the greatest day in sales because it was a lot of young families going through the body, but I enjoyed the fact that to see, people in the mall, just being here.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time 20 years ago where I couldn't walk across the hallway for 5 minutes because there were so many people going back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
That's not the case anymore.
Right, it's different.
So the market's gotten tighter, and but at this point in time in my game in the business is that I became more of a destination. People know I'm here now. They know the services I provide, and it seems to be holding its own at this point in time.
What do you think as we go back 20 years ago in this retail style business, sports memorabilia, sports apparel, everything sport. I say all things sports. What was the style of business that was your biggest seller then to 10 years ago to now? Like, I remember like around 2000, there were the Mitchell and Ness jerseys,
Yeah.
which were unbelievable. I just remember people coming in and it's like 200, 300, 400. I mean, talk about like what that product was like, and then how that transitioned recently over the last 5 or 10 years to where it is now, and maybe where you see it going.
Well, to be honest with you, that business, the gentleman that started that business, he would actually go to the player's house, the retired player's house, and sit down and talk to him about how he's going to produce the jersey for them to make them honor them for their service in one of the. It's almost like he served in war or something like that. But one of the sports, he believed in the sports business. He believed in quality, and over a period of time, he had an arsenal of players and jerseys. Mickey Mantle, Ted Williams. I mean, they all had to sign individually with him. It wasn't like he signed a blanket certificate and said, "I can make all these jerseys." He went to those people's houses. He told me the story about it. I don't know. And then eventually, what happened was that the music business changed, where the rappers were wearing these jerseys on the stage. And then all of a sudden, everybody wanted those jerseys. And it became an epidemic after that, because he couldn't produce them fast enough because of the high quality of them. And the prices ranged from $300 to $500, depending on what jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Depending on what deal he signed with what player. I know Mickey Mantle's used to have this beautiful 1952 cream-colored jersey. I mean, it was absolutely gorgeous. It was made with wool, just the way Mantle wore it in '52. And I'd like to have one of those signed. They're probably worth a lot of money, but I don't. So. But I do have a Babe Ruth 1927 jersey. So.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's beautiful. So, well, you used to be a very avid and passionate memorabilia collector yourself.
Yeah.
Like, what are some of your prized possessions from a memorabilia perspective?
I have a picture signed by Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman. I have a Derek Jeter signed jersey, ball, bat, you name it, cleats. I got all of that. I normally like to collect things. Most collectors collect things of the players they love. You know what I mean? I didn't know Jeter that well. You know, I met Jeter maybe once or twice, but, you know, I met Mickey Mantle as a kid. I met him as a teenager, and then I met him I talked to him on the phone as an adult when I bought his jersey, signed jersey. I never got a jersey signed by him, but I had a baseball signed by him. You know, I met Roger Maris, you know, Phil Rizzuto, Whitey Ford. I met Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, you know, quite a few players over the years. Mainly Yankees and Red Sox guys and a couple Mets guys here and there.
Yeah, that's the passion.
Yeah, that's the passion of meeting these guys. You want to emulate what you couldn't play like they played, or you couldn't be in that position. So the next best thing was to own something they signed. You know what I mean? So that's where it was at with me. But that still didn't have anything to do with the business. The love for this business was based on the fact of me liking it, and it kind of fit into my model of how I manage, and it worked perfect. You know, apples for apples. You know. Oranges for oranges, you know. That's just the way the business is. You got to find your forte. You know, my basic forte is running a business. You know, maybe not being a vice president sitting in a chair or something like that. You know, I'm a pretty good ground fighter. You know, a trench guy. You know, so and it's continued.
Well, you've had your roots here
Yeah.
in Crossgates Mall now for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
So someone who was thinking about opening a business, you would have probably always suggest that they start out temporary, almost like a feasibility study to make
Yeah.
sure it works before you go ahead and sign that 5 or 10 year guarantee, personal guarantee, permanent deal. Then you're on the hook, like you said, for the cam charges and the utilities and everything else.
Right.
Plus, there's build outs involved and the whole thing.
Right.
And in the beginning, that's a huge capital outlay to get started. So with 20 years experience in a mall environment, successfully running businesses in a mall environment, what would your advice be, or what kind of tips you would give someone if they thought they had a really good product or service and they wanted to try it out by opening up a store in the mall? What would you give them for advice?
Expect to lose money. You know, you have to expect to lose money in the beginning. You know, when I undertook the Pro Image franchise, I realized the fact that you're borrowing more money in order to make it successful, but you got to foresee the success down the road. I figured normally when you open any kind of business, it takes you a couple years to even show a profit. You know, in my case, it probably being in a mall environment with the rents being higher, it might take a little bit longer than that. So you just got to stay the course. You know, try not to give up. Be versatile in your decision making. You know what I mean? And then if you own a store in a mall, there's, you know, this day and age, you got to do a percentage of it online also. So if you have a business online that is making a profit, and you have a store that's making profit in a mall, that's a good sign. So. And then, you know, you live with the good times and you live with the bad times. That's the way life is, though.
Sure is.
Yeah.
Thank you, my friend. You know what we have? I think we got a little gift here. And I was going to say you're doing both very well with the online business and obviously with the retail. Mm-hmm. We've got, for followers of the Savings Swami, Chaz is generous. If you come into Pro Image Sports over the next week, this will expire next Saturday, April 29th. Anybody who spends at least $40 at Pro Image Sports gets $20 off. So it's basically 20 off anything $40 or more. Come on in, Pro Image Sports. Chaz is a great guy. He's here every day of the week, and I know he's proud of that because he's always a grinder. Grinding is the only way to do it. Nothing in life ever substitutes for hard work to be successful in business. Thanks for visiting with us, brother.
Great.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What's that code?
The code is the Swami.
All right.